youngsters, if you can come up with a question, any question. I know all the answer to this question, to that. What? Hey!
Excuse me. Now, please allow me to intervene in this story, dear storyteller. I do think I have something to add, so to speak. Well, let me introduce myself. My name is the Old Crow, as you can read on the sides of my body. During my 80-plus years of flying, I got quite some exciting experiences, and I love to talk about all of them. Yes, I was born in 1943, in a time when the world was on fire, and there was a big need for military pilots to fly planes all over the world. Respectfully, I and about 10,000 of my sister Boeing Stearmans trained many of those soldier airmen. You could find us all over the USA and Canada, flocked together at airfields while inviting the hundreds of thousands of young heroes into our cockpits. We were the pilot makers at that time. Oh, sorry. No worries, just a small cough today. Now, let me talk about something that I taught to all those on board. How do you fly me? As you hear, my engine is already running. Oil pressure checked. Take it easy to warm up that big chunk of metal. Now, I know you have many questions for me. Maybe, for instance, how to make turns once in the air. Well, let me tell you about that. Watch my lower wings. You see those things flapping? We call them ailerons. Now, suppose I want to make a turn to the right. Then I do this. Left aileron goes down. Right aileron goes up, letting my whole body bank to the right. Amazing, huh? Left turn? What do you think? Correct. Then I do this. Result? Left aileron down, right goes up, and we turn to the left. Good one, huh? Now, what about going up and down? Look at my tail. You see that thingy moving? We call that the elevator. Watch. Elevator up, and tail goes down, and nose goes up. Climbing. And then, and this is really exciting, elevator down, and tail goes up, and nose goes down, descending. Now, I have a question for you. What do I need to do if I want to climb and go to the left? Exactly. Let me show you. Up and to the left. Now, going down and to the right. How do we do it? Yes! Here we go. Down and to the right. Ta-da! Up, down, left, right. Oh, excuse one more time. Well, you know, when I'm flying, I am very happy. And then I flap my wings and flap my ears. Yeehaw! Here we go!
A little more about the 8th Army Air Force. The 8th Army Air Force was activated in 1922.
You know, there was this one day. I was treated really badly by a pilot. He didn't do a good pre-flight check. Taxied like a madman. It was rough on my engine. I got angry with him and smoke puffed out of my ears. Let me show you how. That was a long time ago. All those years, I kept on learning and teaching many things. I'm a bit like a cat, having 9 or even more lives. I even grew into something else myself. Now, I am a peaceful warrior, spreading magic and fun and joy of flying and living. And I can teach you to have a great life yourself. Because I became a people maker, and I am here to help you. Well, for more on that story and a whole lot more, let me give the word to the storyteller. Thank you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, the airplane was built in 1943. It's 80 years old. A month ago, we had the birthday party for this airplane. The next 40 minutes, I take you into the story of flying, and that's totally connected with my story of living. Because for me, flying and living is the same thing. I take you in the story of this airplane. I take you also in the story of what happened in Europe 80 years ago. As you hear, I'm from Europe. I'm from Holland. My name is Hans Nordsiek. I was 17 years old. 17 years old. And I was a beginning glider pilot. And at my home airport in the Netherlands, there was this hero flying loop-de-loops with a Harvard T6. And I remember it vividly because something motivated me for the rest of my life. Because I wanted to become a pilot. And he made his loop-de-loops. For me, he was the hero. And he landed his airplane. And he stepped out of his airplane. And he was a tall guy. And he came walking to me. And I think, wow, this is the moment I can reach for the skies. I can touch my hero. I can ask all the questions I want. And at that one moment, what happened? He came from his airplane. And he walked to me. And I was here. Sir, can I have... And then what happened? I like to ask questions, and he walked like, leaving me here as a boy of 7-year-old. Sir, I want to become a pilot, and how many fuel and how your airplane, can I, hello sir? Hello? Hello? Well, maybe I cannot become a pilot. Maybe I cannot do what he did. And then I thought, 7-year-old, I thought about my mother. And my mother said, Hans, you have to believe in yourself. If nobody believes in you, believe in yourself that you can do anything. So I said, hey, I think if a young 7-year-old young boy or girl is having a question about airplanes, every person should stop to answer those questions. So I made a holy promise. I learned that from my mother. A promise is what you say, you're going to manifest that. So I made a promise. One day, if I am in your position, Mr. Hero, I will stop for any child that has a question about airplanes. And you know how things go in life. 15 years later, I stepped out of this airplane once. It was in Europe, and I was at an air show. And I was reminded by my promise to answer all the questions to youngsters. Making promises in life has defined and given me a great life so far. So that's why I'm here to answer all those questions. About this gentleman, he was a great help to me. He helped me to become who I am. Sometimes, young people, sometimes life is not very nice to you. Sometimes you get bullied, you get challenged by life, and that makes you stronger. It made you into the person that I am. Thank you. 1943, I take you back 80 years ago. Has any of the youngsters heard about the Second World War? Have you heard about it? Yes? Second World War. There was a big crisis all over the world, especially in Europe. And the Allied countries, led by USA, Canada, France, England, and also Russia, they said, okay, we have to fight an evil enemy in this world. And they came together and they said, okay, we have to make a war, we have to fight a war, we have to fight these evil forces in the world, on the sea, on the land, and on the air. And in order to fight the enemy in the air, we need pilots. We need lots of pilots. And the USA decided, let's train pilots to become a hero, a warrior, a GI, a soldier pilot in the war in Europe. 300,000 pilots were trained in your country within a 4-year period. And in order to learn to fly, you need an airplane that is sturdy, that is strong, that is challenging to fly, that is cheap to build, and that is enduring and has a good quality of flying. And then Mr. Stearman, Lloyd Stearman, in that time, and Mr. Lloyd Stearman was an aircraft builder and designer. And his company was bought by the Boeing factory. And then Boeing said, okay, we have a Boeing Stearman biplane that has proven reliability by being a mail plane for many years, and we can convert a mail plane with one seat and a luggage or cargo compartment for the mail, we can convert it to a two-hauler with a student and an instructor. And we put a different engine on it, and voila, Kroll as a time machine, a time capsule. 80 years later, one of the 8,500 Stearmans that were built is standing right here. Ladies and gentlemen, the Boeing Stearman, the old Crow. Today we have 3 of these great examples still flying, and luckily, in general, today we are in a more peaceful environment. Why do we keep flying Stearmans? Well, ask any pilot. Say, well, Stearman puts a smile on our faces. The airplane was made and built to train pilots. Oh yeah, it always happens. Oh, there goes the wind. A student and an instructor, a 2-seat airplane. Where do you think would the student, the one who is going to learn to fly, where would he sit, you think? Front or back? In the back. Very good. Excellent. The student was sitting in the back and the instructor was sitting up front. At that time there were no radios, so the communication was by hand signals and shouting. Student in the back and the instructor up front. There is also a technical reason and an operational reason why the student was in the back, because of weight distribution, forward or aft. There always have to be somebody when you fly in the rear cockpit. So you train students to fly solo. That's why you train students. So he was already prepared to fly in the rear seat. I said he, because not many female pilots were flying in the Second World War. In fact, there were no female pilots allowed in the front flying airplanes. Instructor up front and the student in the back. With this airplane, about 1.5 years ago, I transported it from Europe to this country. It was born in Wichita, Kansas, 1943. Having flown it for 30 years in Europe, I thought it was time to bring the stories home from Europe to your country, what this airplane has done. In 2004, I was with this airplane in Bergerac in France, in the south of France. I speak English, speak German, Dutch, a little bit of French. And we landed the airplane in the summer of 2004 in Bergerac, the south of France. And we landed the airplane, the sun was about to set, and in the far away there was a gentleman coming up. He was in his 80s. And you say, well, here's somebody with a story. And I still remember, he came to me, he had a stick and he was in his 80s. Bonjour. Bonjour, ça va? In French you give handshake, bonjour, ça va? Oh, well, c'est magnifique, bien. And the gentleman with his daughter, he said, well, is this a Stearman? Is this a Stearman? I said, yes, sir. This is a Stearman, mister. What's your name? André, Monsieur André. This is a Stearman. And the Stearman were made in the 1940s to train pilots from the USA, Canada, even from your country, the France, to fly later on during the war. And then he said, Monsieur Hans, in French, stop. I tell you, I was one of those pilots. Monsieur André? Well, and then he told me the story that he flew he trained in Alabama in 1943, flying Stearmans, getting soloed, getting to learn to fly, formation flying, and then he upgraded to the P-47 Thunderbolt. That's the biggest, most heaviest single-seat fighter airplane of the Second World War with 8.50 machine guns. And Monsieur André told me, he said, well, if you would trigger all those machine guns during the air, you would fly maybe 350 miles per hour, and suddenly you would only fly 300 miles per hour. There was such a lot of backdrop from these machine guns. Anyway, Monsieur André, let me ask you, you want to fly? Bien sûr, he said, of course. So Monsieur André jumped into the front cockpit, and I went into the back cockpit. We started the engine, and then something happened. We went to the runway with full power. We took off around 200 feet, half a minute into the air. Monsieur André sitting in the front cockpit, and up there's a mirror. You can see each other. There's a mirror, and he was sitting in front of me, and he was doing this on his head. I said, okay, that's fine. And then he suddenly took the controls and said, whoa, what happened? I was in the rear cockpit, and he was flying the airplane like he's done before, more than almost 60 years ago. And then he flew it around, and after 10 minutes he watched in the mirror. He pointed at me, Hans, you. And then I got the message reminding that at that time there were no intercom, there were no radios. That's how they communicated. The one who's hitting his head is flying the airplane. So we landed the airplane, and he wrote something in the pilot logbook, and after half an hour he came back, good French tradition, with a big bottle of French red wine, and I gave him a hug. I hope he's still alive. Our heroes from that era are fading away, and he wrote in the let me see, where is all the passengers that flew in this airplane since 30 years, they wrote their stories in the passenger logbook. So also Monsieur André wrote something after the show. You're most welcome to have a look at it, because many people that took a ride in this airplane wrote something in it, including Mr. Richardson. He was a turret or a tail gunner in the P-24. I flew him also, and he's there also in 2004. I try always to serve my audience, and I do shows all over the world about flying and about living, and customizing my show. I tell also a little bit about the technology. I have an aviation degree in aeronautical construction. And about the airplane, it was built as strong as you could possibly think, from front to rear. Propeller, it is a controllable pitch propeller. It's not the original engine. The 220, the beautiful red Stearman there, has the original engine. It's a 220 horsepower engine. Most of the Stearmans had that engine, and this is a beefed up 275 Jacobs engine 755 cubic inches, maximum 2,200 RPM. We come to that later in 5 minutes because I have a little game about RPMs, revolutions per minute. From forward all the way back, the body is made out of steel. If I open it here, you can see this steel tubing, aluminum construction around it to give it the form, and then it is a cloth. This is what we call seconite. It's like nylon. It's a special procedure to put it on. We overhauled the airplane in 2006, 7 and 8. And all the way to the back, the tail is also made out of steel, small steel parts. Come to the wings, wooden wings. The wings are made of wood. Landing gear is almost a two-piece landing gear. The original landing gear of the Stearmans, they produced an airplane that was too easy to land. You have to remind that a disciplined teacher is not the teacher that you like, it's certainly the teacher that you need. So a disciplined, challenging airplane is not the airplane maybe that you like, it's certainly that you need in order to learn to fly the airplane. So, wooden wings, 80 years old. Why is the airplane still flying? And also the red and the beautiful yellow example. It has a huge engine, 450 horsepower engine. That's more than double of the regular normal engine. I know the owner, he's sitting right here. He's the great guy behind this beautiful event here today. So Shawnee, thank you for inviting me here. If you have a city without an airport, and you want to go to New York, or you want to go to Amsterdam, or you want to go to wherever in the world, you need maybe hundreds of miles of interstate or highway to go somewhere and to find an airport where you can take off from. If you have a city with an airport, like here, then you only need maximum 1 or 2 miles of runway to come all over the world. So any airport, any city all over the world that has an airport is connected potentially with everything else in the world. On my flying, I was an airline pilot. I retired some years ago on the 777 and the 787. Was it exciting to fly these airplanes? Yes. What was my biggest giveaway to be and I'm still a pilot? My biggest giveaway in aviation is not so much the excitement, it's this connecting with people. We're all from the same family worldwide, 7-8 billion people, and I was very lucky to have met people all over the world and to tell their stories to you here. Any questions about the airplane so far for the youngsters? Alright, let me go back to the engine. What do you need in order to fly? What do you need? What do you need in order to fly? Engine, yes, one more. Wings, very good. How many wings does it have? 2, yes, exactly. 2 wings. 1, 2 wings. Why 2 wings? We did that before. What did we do today? Well, if you try to walk on one leg, you can do it. Can you do it? Walking on one leg, you can do it? Yeah, 2 legs is more natural to walk. So that's why I think a real airplane has 2 wings, has a big radial up front and a tail wheel in the back. Kidding. The airplanes at that stage, why did they have 2 wings? They originate from the very first airplane that flew, that was in your country in 1903. That was also a biplane. People did not know you could make an airplane with only 1 wing. They have 2 wings, and you have all these things connecting the wings that makes a very strong and sturdy structure. So out of fear, or I'm not sure if 1 wing will work, they made airplanes with 2 wings. Easier to build, very light. 1 wing, if you take it off, 1 wing weighs around, I have to think in kilos, around 80 to 90 pounds. Very light wings. So that's why two wings airplanes still exist today. Somehow biplanes have this magical era, this nostalgia around them that connect people. That's why we are here. We need wings with an engine. What does the engine need in order to run? What did you do this morning? You woke up, and what was the first thing you do when you wake up? Oh, did you during the sleep? Yeah. Yes, you breathe the air. Yes, air. We need air. What? After you took a shower, what did you do? You start? Yes. What more? You start? Eating, drinking, breakfast. Yes. The airplane or the engine needs air and needs fuel. Where do you think the air is coming from? You want to see it? Near close? Up close? Come on here, stand over. Ladies and gentlemen, applause for these two heroes. Yeah! So we need air and we need fuel. Well, the airplane has a mouth. The engine has a mouth. Looking forward. The mouth is looking forward. Where can you see somewhere like a pipe or something, or a tube? Yes, exactly. Oh, there you go. That's the mouth of the airplane. So the air coming up front, all the way through the air filter, carburetor, going into the engine. What else do we need? The airplane needs fuel. Where would the fuel be? Here, yeah, here it says oil. Where, if you drink water, can you drink water like this, or you drink like this? Yeah, so the water or the fuel must be above the engine. So where would this fuel be? Here is the engine. So the fuel must be up there somewhere. What about there? Exactly, it's in the wing. There is the wing. 40 to 45 gallons of fuel is going into the upper wing. This tank has only 41 gallons, normally 45, because in the 60s, 70s it was used as a crop duster, and the guys were sitting on the tank at that time, and it is buckled. That's why it only takes 41 gallons. So yes, the fuel is there, and then the fuel comes in here towards the engine, and then it starts to ignite and explode, and the airplane starts to, or the engine starts to move. How do I get the fuel there? How do you know how would I go, how would I get there? Yes, and how do I get there? You want me to show you how I fuel up the airplane? Yeah, the airplane has a ladder. Can you see the ladder? You can see, yep. Let me see here, here we go. Yep, where can I go more? There? Yes, here. Like this, up here, and here, like this. And then I'm here. Can you help give me the fuel thing? Yeah, just be it. Okay, here we go. Fuel, putting a fuel in, ting, 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 and the fuel filled up. So how do I get back? Can I jump? Or what's the best way you think to go back, to go down?
Get down from there.
Shall I jump? Okay.
No.
Come in here. What?
No.
What?
Go back.
Here?
Yeah.
And then where? Here?
No.
Where?
No.
Here?
No.
Here?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Like here. And here I'm back again. So, thank you. So, we talked about revolutions per minute. The engine is running, and then this is the propeller. And we always stay away from propellers, especially if somebody's in the cockpit, because if the propeller starts to rotate, you don't want to be near it. So I'm pointing at it, I'm not getting near the propeller. So the propeller is corkscrewing through the air, like a corkscrew, because it rotates to the right. And it rotates at around 2,000 times per minute, which is per second about 30 times in 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. So can we hold our finger here like in 1 second? 21 is 1 second. Can we do that? One revolution, 21. Yeah, easy. Now 2 times in 1 second. 21. Now 3 times. Yeah. Now 4 times. Now 10 times. Yeah, we can't. In the airplane, the engine is doing that 30 times in 1 second, making the revolutions. Then what's pulling the airplane forward, then the wings start to work. The wings are like this into the air, like hands. And when you put your hand in the air like this, your hand goes up. When you do it like this, it goes down. And you see there's an angle of the wings, that's why. And you go forward and then you go up. That's how you go flying. Questions? Thank you, applause. So, one question, where I was 10 years ago in Germany, and a 12-year-old girl came to me, and I was cleaning the engine. I was cleaning it, and they said, well, here's. I said, why are you cleaning it? I said, well, there's oil, and it shouldn't supposed to drop on the ground. Oil shouldn't be on the ground. Okay, and then she asked me, Hans, in German, Hans, where is the oil coming from? Where do you keep your oil? I said, well, the oil it comes from the oil tank there, maximum 4.4 gallon, which is about 15 liters. I said, where did you get the oil from? I said, well, I bought it some days ago in the shop. And where does it come from originally? I said, well, it comes from a refinery, a factory, and then and we came to the conclusion that the oil comes from the ground. The oil comes from the ground. And then she asked me the famous question, Hans, well, why aren't you allowed to let the oil drop on the ground because it comes from the ground? I found it a very good question. I don't have the answer. Of course, we try to take care of the environment, I understand that. And still, if you realize that the oil is from the ground, where's the fuel coming from? You know where the fuel is coming from? From the ground, yes. Where's the wood coming from? From the wing. Comes from a tree. Where's the tree coming from? From the ground. There's steel, aluminum, bauxite comes from the ground. The tires, one stage, it was in Brazil, in the tree, and it comes from the ground. So it's amazing to realize that at one stage, and that's not that long ago, at one stage, everything that you see here, the whole thing, was in the ground. Well, even to the point that my nail, my finger, my hand, my whole body, at one stage was in the ground. Nothing falls from the skies, and certainly not in aviation. So essentially everything that we see here comes from the ground. Now, who is able to think, create, design, manifest, and build things from the ground? Which creature is that? You know that? Who can do that? We can do that. Humans can do that. Humans, we are able to think and to create and get it out of the ground and make it into a biplane. How do you fly biplanes? Well, you heard already the story. How do you fly in any airplane? An airplane moves in 3 dimensions. In a car, you can go left, right, forward, and aft. Well, if you want to go up in a car, if you pull on the control wheel, nothing happens. So that's the funny thing about an airplane. In the airplane, you can steer with a stick. There's a stick in the airplane, and you hold it here. You can go left, go right, you go down, and you go up. That's the magic of an airplane. You can't do that in a car. So you fly it with the stick, left, right, down, and up. And Let me show you that in the airplane. 1 second. I'll jump in the rear cockpit. So we have to stick here to go left, right, up and down. And then what is a dog doing? What does a dog do when he's happy? Wagging his tail. How can I do that? How do I do that? What? With my feet, exactly. So I steer the airplane with my hand and with my feet. Left, right, up, down. And I'm using my feet to go left, right as well. So any airplane is basically the same principle, even if you fly biplanes, you fly Boeing 787s, you fly Airbus, you fly Mustangs, you fly F-35s, F-16s, left, right, up, down, and then with your feet. One hand is flying the airplane, the other hand, what we say in flight instruction, the other airplane is for yourself. This is for the airplane, and with the other hand you can control the buttons, the switches, the controls, and the accelerator for the engine. Everything in the airplane, forward is faster, rearward is off or slower. Also with the switches above. Why Hans? I had a question, Hans, why do you like airplanes? Why do I like airplanes? Well, why do I like, what? You like French fries? Pancakes? Why do you like them? No, exactly. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, if you do something in life and somebody asks you, why do you like it? You say, I've no idea, I just like it. Then you do exactly what you're supposed to do in this life. Then you do exactly what your creator wants you to do here on this beautiful earth. For me, the real story of flying is make your life into the greatest adventure that you can be. Up there, qualities, life qualities you learn up there about coordinating, working together, about carrying authority, about responsibilities, all those human qualities you learn up there while flying. That is a huge giveaway once you're here on the flat earth doing your thing. Up there you have to obey the rules of the sky, you have to obey the rules of the birds. Once we fly, we are guests up there. The air is owned by the birds more than we are. I was 17 years old. I told you I was a glider pilot in the 1970s, and one of the most beautiful experiences happened at that time. And people think, well, Hans, you flew the P-51, that must be quite a thrill. Yes, it is. Yes, it's nice, it's a thrill, it's exciting, it's fun, and that's a little bit like suntan. Fun and excitement, yeah, you get it, and if you're out of the sun, it's gone in a week. The next stage is joy, or joy of life. And I remember I was 17-year-old boy, I had this 50 feet span wooden glider, and I was flying by myself solo at around 3,000 feet, and then I saw a bird, like a falcon. He came next to me in my wing, and I had to have a big airplane with the controls and finding the upwinds, and then the bird, he was next to me, and he had black eyes, and he was flapping. He looked at me, and I looked at him. Hello. What do you have? What kind of thing do you need to have to fly? I only have my wings, and that's enough. What the bird was thinking. So we moved around in the uplift, and I found that almost a spiritual experience, almost an experience a little bit more close to my divine or my creator. And then the bird flew away, and there I was. Some years ago I flew this airplane to an air show in Europe, and that was also a a delicate, small experience it has a lifetime impact or imprint on me. Flying the airplane at around 500 feet over my home country, and then there was the farmer doing his thing on his farm, and I was at 500 feet, and I saw he looked at me, and I looked at him and said, "Hey farmer, what are you having fun?" Almost like talking to him. He watched me and almost asking me, "Hey Hans, what are you doing there?" I said, "Well, I'm having joy. I'm doing the thing what I'm supposed to do, and I have no idea why, and that's I enjoy life." And then we continue. If you have, who has a dog? You have a dog? If a dog is standing with his feet on the ground, he knows he's a dog. What will happen to a dog when you lift him a little bit? Yes, he tries to get back down. So a dog on the ground, he's like this, "I'm a dog." When you lift him, you want to put him down. What does that say is that if you're off the ground, now I'm off the ground for 1 second. If you're off the ground, you're a different person. Flying is like a vitamin pill. Flying is another dimension in living. 1 hour of flying is 1 month of living. 1 hour of flying is 1 month of living. So once you get off the air, if you're a little bit sensitive to that, you are a little bit of a different person. And you experience life in a different way. I've been lucky that I've been able to fly for 18,300 hours. That's about 2 years and a few months in one row. And I have enjoyed every moment on it. Let me go to the conclusion of today's story, ladies and gentlemen. Any more questions? I will go towards a philosophical backdrop about flying. Some years ago, I interviewed Dr. Phil in Anaheim 4 years ago. And I asked Dr. Phil, and it has a direct connection with flying. Dr. Phil, what did you do, and what would be your life lessons to the people, especially the young generation, to make your life into the greatest experience that you got, the greatest adventure that you got? And Dr. Phil said, well, number one, Hans, you cannot achieve the success in your life on your own. You will have to accept and get help from your family, friends, colleagues, etc. So only in a teamwork you can go up to your challenges and have the best life you can get. Another one, he said, Hans, you have to believe that you can do it. Hans, if you don't believe you can become a pilot, why should I believe you? So do something in life to the young generation that you say, hey, I want to become a pilot, I want to become a doctor, I want to become a carpenter. So, but you believe that you can do it. It's the power of imagination, creativity that we're born with. And number three, Dr. Phil said, make mistakes. Make mistakes. I learned a lot from making mistakes in life. Framed mistakes, because of course when you fly you cannot make very big mistakes. And still reach out here to the young generation. If you do something that goes wrong, you fall on your knees, you got hurt, no problem. Stand up and do it again. So you learn a lot from making your mistakes. The difference between not successful and being successful, also in flying, is stand up one more time that you fall. Today at your airport you can learn to fly. You can learn to fly to make your life into an adventure. To become the hero in your life. At 1 o'clock I'm going to tell you what the real hero is. Thank you for your attention. I'm here the rest of the day if you have any questions. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
We're going to draw a raffle ticket to fly with you.
Okay.